Danfo offers unparalleled, curated and bespoke tours across Africa for travelers seeking genuine cultural experiences, enriched with magnificent sights, sounds and flavors found on the continent. Each trip is reliably curated to ensure visitors are gifted with an immersive and authentic adventure. Whether you find yourself strolling along the charming white sand beaches of Sierra Leone, feasting on the mouth-watering delicious foods in Senegal, observing or partaking in various aspects of the Isheshi traditional system Ifa native to Yoruba land, Nigeria, with Danfo, you will rediscover a fulfilling sense of kinship to the true heart of the motherland, her communities. Our core values focus on integrity, quality, safety, and sustainability. We are uniquely committed to assisting with the advancement of African infrastructure and promoting African businesses, so both travelers and the communities they visit receive beneficial exchanges. At Danfo, we understand the importance of connectivity, and we have created a model which provides bespoke experiences based on your passions or hobbies. With us, expect a long-lasting spiritual bond between you and your destinations. Live, love, Danfo, Africa. To learn more, visit danfo.africa.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Samir Search for Huru. Thank you all. Thanks so much for joining. Hit that like button again. Please hit that like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I will greatly appreciate it. Got a couple of announcements. Announcement number one, we're rolling to Zanzibar in September. September 20th to the 29th, we'll be in Zanzibar. We are there going, well, before that, in fact, I went too far ahead. I skipped Senegal in May 9th to the 18th for the Jazz Festival. Then we're going to Nigeria in August for Oshun. Then we're hitting up Zanzibar in September for Safari Blue. If you're interested in joining us, please visit danfo.africa. Again, if you're interested in joining us, please visit danfo.africa. We would love to host you. I got to check a setting real quick. Give me 1 second. How did I forget this? Oh, I'm good to go. Got that handled. Okay. Yeah, so that's what's going on our end. Again, please visit Danfo, that's DANFO .Africa to learn more. Again, please visit Danfo, that's DANFO .Africa to learn more. We would love to host you on one of our mini excursions. Let's get some more people up in the chat room. I've got an interesting discussion today having to do with the late, great Patrice Lumumba. But there you go. That's the site right there, y'all. And subscribe to the newsletter. And when you subscribe, I'm going to holler back at you. Like, I'm going to actually call you back. And respond back. And you're going to get a phone call from my personal cell phone number. Not a burner. Like my actual personal cell phone number. You will get a call back. We had a great conversation earlier with our brother Jay Cameron in regards to travel to Africa and how Africa could take advantage of what's going on in the Middle East in regards to tourism. So yeah, that's what we discussed earlier today. But now today's topic, Africans do not care about Patrice Lumumba. I don't know about that. Armando, I'm sorry, Armando. Is that Armando? Yeah, Armando. I don't know about that. That just came out of nowhere. You saying that Africans do not care about Patrice Lumumba? Oh, I mean, if you that's your opinion. But that's not necessarily true. Patrice Lumumba is a hero. The Patrice Lumumba. In fact, I'm going to pull up an article later on that goes into detail in regards to the impact the assassination of Patrice Lumumba had on the globe, the planet, the impact it had, and how it completely changed the course of history. That assassination alone. But today's topic, someone who was involved or complicit in the murder of Patrice Lumumba might be going to trial soon. His name is Étienne Davignon. He's Belgium. So if I mispronounce his name, I'm sorry. And so they're saying he was complicit. He's 91 years old. And they're saying he's complicit in the murder of Patrice Lumumba. And he's going to be possibly going on trial. Now, if he's convicted, I don't know how that's going to play out as far as prison time. But that's what's going on. But I want to play a couple news segments. Number one, going into detail how Patrice Lumumba, how his assassination is still so far has went unpunished, but looks like that might be changing here soon. So let's go on and jump into it. Shout out to the Simp Police Academy.
It's a gruesome crime that shook an entire nation to its core. This historian spent many years trying to identify the exact location of the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, Congo's first prime minister, on the 17th of January, 1961.
Fair use.
That night, some 20 people gathered here, deep in the Congolese savannah in the southern Katanga province. The mineral-rich region had seceded a few months earlier with the support of Westerners, as the Belgians and the Americans sought to maintain their influence over the area. Both countries also saw Lumumba as a threat, accusing him of ties to the Soviet Union. Katanga President Moise Tshombe and several of his ministers were present, as were 4 Belgian officers and a firing squad. Standing opposite them, 3 prisoners. The first 2 were shot. Then came the turn of Patrice Lumumba, who'd been deposed and arrested a few weeks earlier.
Le commissaire Franche de Serre le prend, il le ramène aussi devant l'arbre. On a pris soin de faire en sorte que Lumumba, qui était l'ennemi numéro 1, le Satan comme...
Oh, my mic was muted. I'm sorry. I was saying, y'all, I just wanted to say, y'all, it's cold here in Atlanta. Yeah, my bad. I was muted. I apologize. It's cold here in Atlanta. I thought we were free and clear. I thought the weather was going to be warm until, next winter. But nah, it's going to be kind of cold for the next couple of days. I don't like it. I just had to get that off my chest.
Les Belges l'appelaient, puissent voir de quelle manière atroce il devait mourir.
Lumumba collapsed a few seconds later. His remains and those of his 2 co-prisoners were thrown into a freshly dug pit.
Le travail s'est fait précipitamment. Ils sont partis, mais en abandonnant un bout de pied de Patrice Lumumba, les derniers corps qu'on a jetés dans la tombe commune, son bout de pied était resté dehors.
The next day, Belgian officers returned to the scene and dug up the bodies to move them. On the 21st of January, they dismembered the corpses and dissolved them in sulfuric acid, secretly saving 2 teeth from Lumumba's body as a trophy.
Il y a eu une volonté de falsification de l'histoire, une volonté de désorienter même. Il souhaitait nécessairement que les Congolais, et notamment les Katangais, puissent prendre la responsabilité de l'affaire. C'est ainsi qu'il y a une sorte de pacte du silence qui a été signé entre eux pour que personne ne dise la vérité.
The mystery surrounding Patrice Lumumba's death hasn't stopped his children from seeking answers. In 1961, Juliana was 5 years old when her father was murdered.
C'est une photo avec mon père. D'ailleurs, dans cette maison, vous voyez, on était, si vous regardez bien, c'était par là, mon père me porte.
Belgian authorities have recently promised to return one of the teeth of the late leader, a move welcomed by Patrice Lumumba's family, but Juliana says it won't be enough.
Il y a assassinat, il n'y a pas de coupable. Il n'y a aucun coupable jusqu'aujourd'hui. Il y a assassinat, il n'y a pas de corps. Donc, c'est entre autres, des zones d'ombre et des choses qui méritent quand même d'être éclaircies.
In Belgium, the assassination of Patrice Lumumba has been the subject of heated debate for decades. This sociologist stirred a political storm 20 years ago when he alleged in a book that Belgian authorities were directly responsible. To back up his claim, he used evidence such as this telex sent by Belgium's then Minister of African Affairs.
Il insiste personnellement que Lumumba soit transféré au Katanga dans les délais les plus brefs.
DeWitt's revelations prompted a parliamentary inquiry in Brussels, which, to the disappointment of many, concluded that Belgium only had a moral responsibility in the killing of Lumumba.
Juridiquement,
Yeah,
les
hit the tooth. I
responsabilités
think it was
morales,
just the
c'est
tooth.
un
We'll
non-sens.
watch the video.
Pas de contenu, rien de concret. Et c'était exactement le but, en quelque sorte, de la classe politique belge, c'est-à-dire de pas indiquer, bien que c'était une des tâches officielles de la Commission, d'indiquer nominativement le rôle de tous les acteurs belges dans le processus qui a donc amené à la mort de Patrice Lumumba.
In a bid to seek reparations, Patrice Lumumba's children filed a complaint in Belgium in 2011. Out of the 10 people under investigation for war crime, only 2 are still alive, including 88-year-old Étienne Davignon.
This Étienne Davignon, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's about to go on trial. So we'll see how that plays out.
C'est extrêmement difficile de comprendre tout ça 60 ans après. Il devrait y avoir une hostilité fondamentale du peuple congolais à l'égard des Belges. Eh bien, ça n'existe pas.
In 1960, Étienne Davignon, who was to become a key figure in Belgian politics and business, was a young diplomat working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A telex sent 3 months before Lumumba's assassination called for the leader's definitive elimination.
Le mot élimination, en fait, est un mauvais mot. Ce qu'on aurait dû dire, il faut le mettre à l'écart. Et évidemment, quand on connaît la fin de l'histoire, qu'on emploie le mot élimination et qu'on voit ce qui arrive, inéluctablement, on fait le lien entre ces deux mots. Mais comme c'est moi qui ai envoyé ce texte, je sais très bien ce que j'avais à l'esprit.
Étienne Davignon has little to worry about for now. No trial date has so far been set by Belgium's Federal Prosecutor's Office.
This season, you've got places to go, people to see, and things to do.
Let's get into the segment about his body being returned.
Car non. Il est
my Obama
pas
phone.
normal que la dépouille de l'un des pères fondateurs de la nation congolaise ait été conservée 6 décennies durant par les Belges. Il n'est pas normal que la dépouille de l'un des pères fondateurs de la nation congolaise ait été conservée pendant 6 décennies
Hold on, let me
dans
find.
des circonstances.
Hold on 1 second. I want to find a piece where they actually go into detail. What was actually not from the actual handing over, but what was actually given. Yeah, here we go.
Family on Monday.
Here we go. This is better.
Belgium returned a tooth, the last known remains of Congolese
tooth.
independence hero Patrice
A tooth in
Lumumba
a
to his
casket.
family on Monday. Lumumba was Democratic Republic of Congo's first democratically elected prime minister after independence from Belgium in 1960. But his government lasted just 3 months before he was overthrown and assassinated. Lumumba's supporters and some historians.
So his tooth, I guess, is in that casket. Yeah, they just put his tooth in the casket. Yeah, that's crazy. Because like I said, they dissolved his body in acid after they killed him.
Accused the CIA of ordering the killing. In 2002, a parliamentary investigation concluded Belgium was morally responsible for the death. Speaking at the Egmont Palace in Brussels on Monday, Lumumba's daughter, Juliana, addressed her comments to her father.
Nous devons avouer qu'il n'y a rien qui puisse exprimer comme
We have to admit that nothing can express what we are feeling today.
nous ne pouvons que formuler ce vœu.
We can only wish that wherever you are,
Ce vœu que tu puisses, Père, de là où tu es,
you can be proud of your children,
de là où tu te trouves, être fier de tes enfants
your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren,
et de tes arrière-petits-enfants. Père, à présent,
Father, welcome back to the country.
au pays.
Thank you.
At the ceremony, a blue box containing Lumumba's tooth was handed
Okay,
over.
that's the tooth right there.
It
Okay.
had been reportedly taken by a Belgian police.
Yeah, so his tooth is in that box. So that's all they have for Patrice Lumumba is this tooth in the box. Golly, man, this is nasty work, man. Man, this is nasty. Nasty work.
Policeman who claimed to have dissolved much of the body in acid and burned the rest. Lumumba had alarmed the West with overtures to Moscow at the height of the Cold War. He also angered Belgium with a speech criticizing the colonization of his country, which included atrocities committed under the brutal rule of King Leopold II. Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo said the tooth had been returned much too late. He described the colonial period as a dark page in Belgium's history, echoing comments made by the country's King Philippe on a visit to Congo earlier in June. Congo's Prime Minister Jean-Michel Samulu-Konde called Lumumba a valiant fighter for democracy and a national hero. His death and the suppression of his supporters had hurt not only the victims' families, he said, but the country as a whole.
All right, guys, I'll put the link in the chat room. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to call in. Again, if you want to call in, ask for the, if you want to call in and add to the conversation, you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. But yeah, they've returned his tooth. And now, like I said, they're, and I'll read this article. One of the people who were complicit in his murder, he might be going on trial. I think he is going on trial. Yeah, he's supposed to be going. The court clears way for trial. So whatever that means. And this is coming from Al Jazeera. Ex-Belgian diplomat ordered to stand trial over murder of Congo's Lumumba. Étienne Davignon, 93, is the only. He's 93 years old. Is the only one alive among the 10 Belgians accused by the Congolese leader's family of complicity. Oh, let's just listen.
Ex-Belgian diplomat ordered to stand trial over murder of Congo's Lumumba by Edna Mohamed, AFP, and Reuters. A 93-year-old former Belgian diplomat has been ordered by a Brussels court to stand trial over the assassination of Congo's first prime minister and anti-colonial icon, Patrice Lumumba, in 1961. Lumumba, who became the prime minister of the country, now known as the Democratic Republic of Congo, upon its independence from Belgium on June 24, 1960, was ousted in September of the same year and later killed by a Belgian-backed secessionist rebel group just months later on January 16, 1961. But in 2002, a parliamentary investigation found that Belgium was morally responsible for Lumumba's death. On Tuesday, Étienne Davignon, 93, a former European commissioner who was a junior diplomat at the time, stands trial over his death, marking the first trial related to the murder of Lumumba. He is also accused of being involved in the murder of Lumumba's political allies, Maurice Mpolo and Joseph Okito. According to prosecutors, Davignon, who was accused of war crimes, had participated in the unlawful detention or transfer of Lumumba and deprived him of his right to an impartial trial. Prosecutors added that Davignon had subjected Lumumba to quote, humiliating and degrading treatment. If the trial goes ahead, Davignon would be the first Belgian official to face the courts in 65 years since the prime minister was killed and his body was dissolved in acid. While 10 people were accused of being complicit in the murder of Lumumba, Davignon is the only suspect alive. Lumumba's family members brought the case, which Belgian federal prosecutors have since taken up. His granddaughter Yema Lumumba told the Reuters news agency after the ruling that it was a step in the right direction. What we want is to search for truth and establish different responsibilities, she added. The family's lawyer, Christophe Marchand, also told the AFP news agency that it's a gigantic victory. No one believed when we first brought the case in 2011 that Belgium would prove capable of seriously investigating this, he said, adding, it's very hard for a country to judge its own colonial crimes. Gold-capped tooth. As African countries pushed for independence from their European rulers in the 1960s, Lumumba rose as an anti-colonial hero, though his government lasted only 3 months. At just age 35, Lumumba was executed in the southern region of Katanga with the support of Belgian-backed mercenaries. The only known remains of the killed leader, a single gold-capped tooth, were taken from the daughter of a deceased Belgian officer who was involved in the disappearance of his remains. During a ceremony in 2022, his remains were returned in a coffin to DRC's authorities. During the handover, then Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo reiterated the government's apologies for its moral responsibility in Lumumba's disappearance. By Edna Mohamed, AFP, and Reuters.
All right, go ahead, Omcall. Unmute yourself, Omcall.
Hey, Dynast.
Hey.
Hey, peace be upon everybody. And
are you on speakerphone?
Yes, I'm on. No, I'm on a tablet. I'm on a tablet. Okay, maybe I should. Do I sound good or it's?
It's okay. Go. I just turned my sound down. Go ahead. You good?
All right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. How are you doing?
Doing well. Let me read the super chat. At JCE, thanks for $1.99. Holla. The middle finger from Macron and Belgium. All right, go ahead, Omcall.
Yes, all right. Thank you again. Thank you for bringing up the subject about my hero and somebody whom my family followed. As I've told you, I grew up in the Lumumbist family, like from my grandpa, my dad, and all of us. We were brought up in his ideology. So something which is missing in all this conversation, and like again, there is a topic which you had, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about slavery in Africa. I wanted to jump in and contribute, but I had a lot of work. Even now, probably I will leave earlier, but I wanted to add something which people don't know when all this conversation comes up. about Lumumba death. Yes, Davignon is about to be taken to court. That's a good thing for the family, and probably it will be a step for Congolese. But there is a main thing which in all this conversation is left out. One is the Eisenhower administration involvement in the unalivement or killing of Lumumba. And second, yes, there was some, and people may say this, there was some who you can call Congolese who were involved. For example, people tend to think that it was Moïse Tshombe who was the leader of the secession of Katanga to some extent, but actually it wasn't Moïse Tshombe. There was another person who was the Belgian, he was the man in charge of security and internal affairs in the Katanga region that time because they wanted to succeed. And his name is Munongo Godefroy Kifagio. I wanted to bring up the story of this Munongo Godefroy so as to link up with the subject we were talking about yesterday, about the participation of some of our brothers and sisters, like you can call Black or African, in the Maafa, because this is what people don't know. This Munongo Godefroy Kifagio, who had the beef with Patrice Lumumba, or before I go deep in the story of Godefroy Munongo Kifagio, let me correct some of the comments, misinformed comment which I saw in the chat earlier on. There was people who were saying that his people were so afraid they never fought for him or they never did anything. Myself, as I've introduced myself before, as a Lumumbist, this is what happened. When Lumumba first was arrested and deposed by the then President Kasavubu, people rose up because, in Congo, first of all, for people to know, the Lumumbist, or the ideology of Lumumba, which is a kind of nationalism and the Pan-Africanism, is the most popular ideology in Congo. But it doesn't mean that a lot of Congolese politicians, they are Lumumbist. Even if they are not Lumumbist, they tend to portray themselves as a Lumumbist because that's very popular and that's what gets a lot of people, but they are not true Lumumbist. So that's one of the facts which I wanted to correct. And another one saying that his people were afraid or they never fought for him. No, guys. Because of Lumumba death, I think the estimation say probably 1 million of people died fighting. Because, for example, when Lumumba was deposed and arrested, from the time when he was already deposed as a prime minister, there was revolt in many areas of Congo. Because this is what you have to know. Lumumba, even at that time, even the president who was elected, who was the president of the country at that time at independence, Kasavubu, was elected because of Lumumba saying, no, since us Lumumbists, we've got a lot of posts, a lot of delegates like representative. Let's go into power sharing. Let's help the other part which was opposing us, be also in the government. And this is how they came into helping Kasavubu being elected as a president, because Lumumba is the prime minister. The way how it was structured, he was supposed to be the one, governing, the powerful. President, it was like a power sharing system where the prime minister is the head of government and is the one who will be calling shots with the approval of the president. But again, because the Belgians had the beef, they didn't want the ideology which Lumumba was going to take Congo into, because he was not fighting only for political independence. He had an idea of economic freedom. And although they tried to accuse him as, especially in the United States, as a communist, no, the guy actually was even planning. He acknowledged that at that time, Congo didn't have all the expertise which was needed to take the country forward. He was prepared to let some Belgian like administrator or professors or those who have higher skill, which Congolese didn't have at that time, stay in the country, work with him, with his government, until when Congolese will be able to attain those level of competences. Then step by step, they will be replaced. That's one of the things. But saying that people didn't fought for him, that's not true, because of Lumumba death, actually, Congo, the Lumumbists control probably third part of the country with the rebellion. If you read about Mulelist rebellion or the Lumumbist rebellion, which took over the whole eastern part of the country and some parts of south, it was only with the help of the USA, the US, because again, the Eisenhower administration was involved. Eisenhower himself is the one who gave the go-ahead. You can read this in the Lumumba Plot. It's a book which was written by Susan Rice. It's available in any public library. You'll understand that the Eisenhower himself gave a go-ahead in the alignment of Patrice Lumumba. Now, what they did, because in this world, especially Western world, the country like Belgium, even since the beginning of the colonization, you will see that Belgium was kind of a subcontractor of the United States. Because if you go deep, even in the making of Congo, the guy who tricked our traditional leader into signing contract of making up of the Congo, Harry Morton Stanley, he was the journalist here in the United States. I think he was working for that time the parent company of, I think, New York Times or something, New Herald, and he went to Congo. The first time when he went, his expedition, he went with the United States flag. That's how the US got deep into Congo, So fast forward into the guy who actually the Belgian used to unalive Lumumba. This guy, we've now gone into their genealogy. Yes, they are our African brothers. We accept them as Congolese, but his ancestors or his ancestor, Mushidi, that's because he's a grandchild of the guy who they try to the Belgian.
We got somebody else on the panel, so you got to
okay. Yeah, let me conclude that, then I'll continue. Yes, yeah. So his grandparents went to Congo in the hunt of first ivory. Then later on, when the Arabs gave him the deal, he started going to Congo to catch our our ancestors into the Maafa. So I'll stop from there for now until when my time comes.
Yeah, greetings, Ines. Greetings, Carl, and also to the chat. Please like, share, subscribe, and support the channel. Yeah, Congo, my brother Carl. The more I look into Congo, the region, where you come from, the more I actually start, thinking some of the problem that you face is quite self-inflicted, to be honest. Because Congo seems to be a country that always have been, just like the rest of the continent, but especially your country, tend to be heavily rely on the West or the foreigners to solve your own internal issue and your own problems. And you actually made it worse because you have so many things in your land that people want, that makes it actually even worse. Like when you look at the mercenaries, if you look at, for example, the Belgian that massacred millions, Leopold, right? We know Leopold actually, wiped out a massive population of Congolese people throughout history. You can see already the relationship you have with these people, and you go back to the Portuguese, right? So at the same time, you're having a problem with Rwanda, and you happen to be the same country who actually brought European mercenaries into Congo to help you fight. What makes you think these people are coming in there to help you, not to help themselves? Omkal.
Yes. Yeah. You spoke about like it's self-inflicted. No.
Not all of it, but some of it is. Yeah.
Not really. What I understand is what I've come to realize is that first of all, with the Leopold's involvement in Congo, it's not like he was invited, but it was a time when these Western, they were, in search of Congo.
I'm not saying he invited him. I'm not saying he invited him, but I said, looking at what he did to your people, okay, and look at what the people did to Lumumba, as the topic is about today, right? What makes you think, inviting white mercenaries, European mercenaries, pardon me, into Congo to help you fight against Rwanda is going to solve the problem?
First of all, I don't. About some European mercenary, I don't think that there is European mercenary. They might. The Tshisekedi regime. They might be some. Yeah, let me explain it. Congo's army in 1996, it was kind of, as we can say, it was disbanded. The real Congolese army. And the way how I look at this problem is like this. Do you see, with all atrocity which Leopold did, them folks didn't want Congolese to have a say and to decide about the affairs, because they knew what will happen. They will have to pay reparation, right? And all that. And again, that's why they had to unalive Lumumba, because Lumumba was for, like, we gotta be, politically free and economically free as well. And in this freedom, help our brothers, our African brothers, into our own emancipation, be it cultural emancipation.
Okay. I think it's a long. Yeah, I mean, it's been quite long. Yeah, basically.
Let me go now. After Lumumba now. Do you see, now they did what? They took Mobutu, right? They went with Mobutu. And with Mobutu, he facilitated the unalivement of Lumumba, but it's not actually him who unalive him. It's it's like there are instigators. Now, what I've come to realize with Mobutu as well, when he started trying to be independent from him, when he didn't want them get access to whatever they wanted to get access, like all the strategic mines, all the strategic mineral reserve, which because by that time there was a lot of Congolese with expertise and knowledge. But the mistake which he did, Mobutu being a dictator, he kind of like neglect a huge part of the army. So what they did again, them folks did for them to get access to this, and also still trying to avoid being held accountable about the unalivement which Leopold II did, and the unalivement of Lumumba. Again, what they did, our brothers and sisters whom have been welcomed in the country and integrated, most of them integrated as Congolese, they went around, instead of using Congolese, authentic Congolese, like, people, because we have two citizenship in Congo, Congolese of origin and Congolese of adoption. So our brothers, especially from Rwanda, they are of adoption. So
why are the Rwandese adopted? Why are the Rwandese adopted? Why?
Because they came, according to our constitution, because there was at the making or the
Okay. I think let me make it short, because you've been long-winded to the answer. It's been quite a long time. Well, what basically?
Let me just answer this, then you can continue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because at between those small kingdom and bigger kingdom which make up Congo, there was no kingdom which was headed by a Munyarwanda as a king or a chief. That's why they are.
Okay. I think your problem is quite typical of African problem, but I think it's even worse, because you focus a lot more into tribal regional conflict and looking at your own brother as an outsider instead of having to work together, and you outsource your own responsibility, and then you expect to have a different result. And when because I was one of the critics of Paul Kagame, I understand. Yes, he is what he did, like in the invasion of certain region, in Congo is wrong. But also remember, his people were nearly wiped out by the same people that he's invading. So you can see where the problem lies. But looking at what he's doing in Rwanda, he's actually have developed his the country for his people, and regardless of the tribe or religion. So his model is actually tend to be a bit more better than what you have in Congo today, whether you like it or not. For me, I think the problem lies with the Congolese people. Majority of it, obviously, we know the Western powers. They're obviously seeking influence. That's what they do. Look at what happened in Iran. You see, if they want something, they will go and get it. They will use force. If they cannot do it by force, they will come begging. If it doesn't work, they will try a different way. But if you're smart enough, you will actually make life harder for them. Okay, where they will come in the right way. Okay, and so you could actually have more influence in your minerals. So all this little gritty story that you're telling about, all these internal issues, you know, I don't have time to listen to that because it kind of basically tells me how you're not looking at
It's Bantu babbling. I have never heard so much Bantu babbling in my life. You asked him a simple question. First of all, shout out nephew. First of all, shout out Dynas. So I heard him talking about his tours, man. Hoping y'all, I hope I get some free time I can go too. But that was the most. You asked him a simple question. He started Bantu babbling. He was like, the ocean, the sea, the turtles, he talked about everything except for what you asked him. But go ahead and continue, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can see, thank you. I'll make it short there, bro. And you come in, I'll make it very short. And yeah, it's a problem that we face in the continent. They actually look at their old brother as an enemy, and instead of working with each other, they have this issue. Then they all want to go and seek outside, outside help. And then you think these people are going to come and help you. You need to be strong and stand up and protect your own stuff. Otherwise, no one is going to do it for you. They will come and help themselves. Form a militia, form something and defend the land of Congo. Nobody is going to do it for you, bro. You got how many million strong men in Congo? Why didn't you just do that? Why would Patrice Lumumba keep parading the world and talking about Pan-Africanism when he did not even practice that, like what Kagame is doing? By actually putting his boys down in the ground, giving them the tools to make sure they can actually protect the territory. Because look at what we have today in West Africa. I'll give you a good example. Like in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, we have similar issue. But look, it's the power that works. Sierra Leone and Guinea been bullied by Sierra Leone and Liberia been bullied by Guinea. The Mano River Union. We're all brothers, by the way. We're no different. When it comes to tribes and race and all that, we are very, very close people. But guess what? Both Sierra Leone and Guinea and Liberia, they was in Guinea yesterday. They have to go to see the master in Guinea and talk and make peace. Because power is what people respect. If you don't have power, nobody will respect you. I pass the mic to you, Uncle Sim. Thank you.
I listened to the speech.
Could I respond to that first?
How's the smartest talking? You act out smartest back to you.
I heard the speech that they claimed that is what is the reason why Lumumba excuse me, was murdered. But at the same time, I've been listening to the show, and I hate to say this, man, but you hear Africans, especially people in Congo, they complain more about Rwanda president than they complain about Belgium. You get what I'm saying? Like you got Congolese over there in Belgium, like nothing ain't happening. So you have these people, and I hear it all the time. Oh, I followed Patrice. I followed him. I live by his words, but it ain't showing that in the country. It ain't showing that in the country at all. But I always hear about how bad the black man in Rwanda is and how terrible he is, but I ain't heard them say shit about Belgium. And the funny part about the Belgium, the emperor, whatever he was he never stepped foot in Africa. That's the part that a lot of people don't know, Dynas, that King Leopold never stepped foot in Congo. Never in his life. But you know who was doing all the killing? It was Congolese. They had Congolese, the whoever the proxy.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Bro, you babble for 15 minutes straight. Nobody
because you are lying.
Then
because you are lying there. You are lying. You are lying. You are talking a story which you don't know.
Their own regiment that was running
around. Somebody 1 second. Carl, was Mobutu, was he Congolese or Rwandan?
Okay, we said about Belgium. That's after Leopold. Leopold and the mercenaries.
No, we're not doing that. I asked you a simple question, Carl. Was Mobutu Congolese or was he Rwandan?
Mobutu was Congolese, but Mobutu was not the time of Leopold.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Smart.
And this is the problem, that Bantu babbling. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's excuses. Like it and you know what? You can always tell we from Africa because we do the same type of stupid ass excuses for the dumb shit that we do to each other in America. It's everybody else's fault to why we do what we do. It's everybody else's fault why we kill each other. The CIA made them do it. Ain't nobody can pay me enough money to kill my brother. You just can't do it. But clearly, it's a price that you can pay in Africa. 5,000 a bag of rice and a bucket of oil. You kill a whole village. Then some type of way you say that, hey, the white people made me do it. Like that's some type of excuse. If he was such a revolutionary figure, then why the people didn't protect him? I saw when they dragged him off that plane. I saw when they put him on the back of that truck. That was black people standing around him. There was Congolese standing around. It was not one white person standing there. Now, you can say that they handed them off to the white people. But when the cameras was rolling, the nephew, Africa, when the cameras was rolling, it was nothing but Negroes. Congolese descent.
Right.
And I know for a fact that I forgot that Africa, you can help me out, that Belgium or whoever King Leopold gave to set up posts or whatever. What was his name? The white guy that he set up little posts through Congo.
Larry Devlin, there is Larry Devlin, the CIA chief of station.
He hired Congolese. They was the muscle. And that's all it's crazy that he said it wasn't true, because I listened to documentaries and I heard other Congolese saying it. They was the ones that was cutting their own Congolese people hand off when they weren't making quota with the rubber. They the one that was cutting their feet off. They had their own mercenaries, black people, Congolese, African people, whatever you want to call them, in the interior, doing the enforcement on their own people. They try to make it seem like the Belgian army was over there. They had their proxies over there, but it was Congolese people. And if I'm not mistaken, Dynas, they said it was a force. They had a force between 10 to 12,000 that was doing the work of the white people. Now, this is the thing. This is the one thing that I know about Black America. You know, so not to get on topic. Even though Africa, me and you stay next to each other and I hate your guts and I want to kill you, ain't now white man can come to my door and say, I give you $1 million. Go over there and handcuff him and put him in a van. And we're going to take him away. No, Black America, we might say, no, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it myself. We ain't gonna let no white person come into our neighborhood and convince us to kill our next door neighbor.
No.
But that's what happened in Belgium. I mean, in Congo, you let some small ass country the size of a goddamn Domino's pizza and Cold Stone goddamn ice cream parlor. Small as shit. They barely can survive over there. Come over to a country of goddamn 30, 40, 60 million, however many people over there, and these white people, these Congolese over there bowing their head like, what do you want me to do? We'll take them out. And I think the CIA gave them 50,000. If I'm not mistaken, do you remember the amount, Dinus? I read up on it, and I think the amount was...
I don't remember, but it was pennies. But if I could ask Omkar a question, Omkar, this video right here of Patrice Lumumba being detained, are you saying that these are all Rwandese?
No. Man, you are mixing stuff. At this time, it's not Rwanda is not involved.
So these are
the Belgian agents and using their agent Mobutu. You know, Mobutu's
who are Congolese, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know the firing squad, the firing squad which killed Lumumba, they were Belgian. You know that?
I'm gonna come back to you. Go ahead, Smart.
And see, the thing about it that I don't understand is in the situation that Congo in now is it's just another recipe of disaster of these countries that are not ran properly. And really, Congo is too big to be ran by one president because of the infrastructure. Now you got countries that have good infrastructure, you can run them because your military can go places. You got places in Congo where the roads ain't good, the military can't get there. They got, when it rains, they got the military have to ride with those that is, I don't know if you've seen it, we have them in Atlanta where they stretch out the road, the dirt, just to make it drivable, just to go terrain. The roads ain't good, so you're not in control of a country. You get what I'm saying? So it needs to be split up in half anyway. You get what I'm saying? And if you don't have infrastructure, you can't run a country. And that's why it's in the position that it's in. That's why you have the type of jungle, goddamn military style, you know what I'm saying, bush fighting that going on over there. And it won't stop because you can't satisfy the people enough to get them to a standard where they're comfortable, that they don't want to live that life. If you got people that's living out there and kids grow up and see their family living without nothing. You see people dying of malaria and dying of disease, no hospitals. You get what I'm saying? It's a lawless way. Then what you think they're going to grow up to be if they don't see a better way? You get what I'm saying? So if you don't develop the land, it doesn't matter what happened in the capital if you go 400 miles out the way and it's lawless. But the Patrice Lumumba thing is a good thing, but he was only in office 3 months. And you know, when people try to say he changed something, I just don't see what he changed. I know a lot of people like to scream his name, but I just don't see what changed. You get what I'm saying? And
exactly.
I pass the mic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah, it's just the fact that.
Let me answer, and okay. I agree with some points. Yeah, some of the points which you are making are valid, but you are over exaggerating. For example, the firing squad that's unalived Lumumba, it was white Belgians. Of course, as I said before, again, when I started, yes, there were some Congolese who were complicit. For example, Mobutu, but we all know that Mobutu was recruited by CIA, and he was under the CIA payroll and the Belgian. Were the Congolese were complicit? Yes. Did Congolese do something about it? Yes. If you've read this history, as I've said before, okay, the brother said Congo is too big. Congo is too big, but Congo is not bigger than Russia. It's not bigger than United States. There is other countries which are bigger. Has Congo been governed at some time better? Yes, it has been under, even if Mobutu, I don't like Mobutu, but there was time when Mobutu governed Congo well. Then again, he made mistakes, of course. It's not a big country that if Congolese are left, the power which destabilized Congo, leave Congolese, decide of their own affairs. Yes. Is it going to be easier? No. Like the brother accused us of saying that, why you are not fighting for Congo? I see that you are probably ignorant of what is going on in Congo. Why do you think the West tried to blackmail all these Congolese patriots who are fighting there? The patriot was Alendo, that they tried to portray or to blackmail as militia. Those people although they you'll hear some people say there are 100 and something groups or 150 groups. No, of course there are smaller groups fighting to protect their community or decide where they are. But all those people are fighting against a common enemy who has invaded Congo and who want to balkanize Congo. That's the thing. And Congolese are fighting. We've been putting, if it was not for Congolese patriotic spirit, Congo could have been already taken over by these, foreign powers. But it's because Congolese fight.
Who are you fighting against? M23?
It's not only M23 is what you know today. Before M23, there was the same guys. They labeled themselves CNDP. Before that, they labeled themselves Pareco. Before that, now they label themselves as ADF, who are unaliving people with terrorist style, bombing and butchering people. They are from Uganda. But because I understand you don't know the whole inner working of Congo. Yes, is Tshisekedi the best leader we could get? No, of course. I've said it many times. We've get some bad leaders, but it doesn't mean that there are no good people there. There are not people who could have done better. Let me finish. Okay, let me go to another one about working together. Tshisekedi, when he went to power, when he came to power, he suggests to Kagame that you can try to read the Congo and the Rwanda agreement. It's called the Serena Agreement of 2019. Why do you think Rwanda started saving Congo? It's because Tshisekedi was like, he went to Kagame and suggested to Kagame, please, bro, we can work together instead of coming in or sending militia because you have the support of this, this guy, this multinational and whatever. They're supporting you now, unaliving our people. We can work together instead of doing this. What did Kagame do? There was even a deal of, as I've said, of Sakima. You can read the Sakima deal between Congo and Rwanda. There was stuff like that. But Kagame, because he has the support of the small heart, and some powerful chorus in United States, he's afforded impunity. So he has done whatever he has done, and I'll give references.
Listen.
Let me finish.
You're not going to end. I mean, how many millions and billions of dollars of Congo money and Congolese politicians?
Let me answer about the issue.
Switzerland. Hang on. Who comes to Switzerland and Paris and waste this money and banking it over here, right? And when you should be coming out here and signing arms deal with foreign country, but your guys are here shopping, buying Lamborghini, Ferraris, listen now.
That's what Felix have done. Because in Congo they don't manufacture guns and all this stuff, and he understood for many years. Even a lot of Africans were accusing us, guys, you have all this wealth. Why you don't make big deals? You don't make deals with people who support Kagame so that they can fund it, they can give you, they can help you protect your country, they can supply you with guns. And that's what Tshisekedi have done. Again, some of the same people are accusing Tshisekedi of, I don't know, so it seems like some of our brothers,
someone has to speak now, bro.
Hold on. They don't want, I understand, they don't understand what is going on. I'm not saying that Tshisekedi have done the great thing he could have done. Also on the answer, on the issue of the brother saying about Congo, cutting their own people. No, bro. This is what happened. Yes, Leopold II have never set foot in Congo, but he sent agents. First of all, it was white mission, missionary or people in missions, like what can you call? People, Secret Service agents and so on, to go and investigate or learn about the ways of our people in Congo. And this is how even Henry Morton Stanley went, signed the deals, the tricks. And later on, he sent other Belgian officers. And he recruited other African. For example, in Congo, in the first Congo army, which was called Force Publique, it was a lot of Hausas, Hausa, Senegalese, and Malians. Of course, later on, after they've been working, he recruited also the Zanzibarites, the Zanzibarite to work with him. Like Tipo at a certain time, he was the governor of the whole eastern part of Congo. Fast forward, yes, they started recruiting even some Congolese, of course, but you cannot say that those people who cut, our people's end, they were Congolese. That's not true. The Force Publique now under Mobutu, it became Congolese later. It's later before the First World War. So that's, and even people who, do you understand? Okay, put yourself in the picture of what these guys did. Do you understand which type of hate you need to have to a person to a point where you, after unaliving him and burying him, you have to unbury him, cut him into pieces, and dissolve him into acid? Do you understand a type of why? Because they didn't want even this guy, because of his ideas and his philosophy, they didn't want the guy to have even a tomb. This is a type of hate, and that's hate. It was not only towards Lumumba. No, this is, you have to understand, this hate was towards the whole people of Congo. So that's what we are against. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. Yes, there's no easy things in life, but you have to understand where people comes from and where the country is and where people are going. Am I saying that? Congo is
okay. I mean,
Africa. I got to pass it to Bang.
God, I thought I was long. I thought I was long-winded. I thought I was.
I don't know. I everything went over my head. It's just.
To be honest,
I mean, I respect the call, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
if you don't understand, let me give you one. Let me give you one reference which you can read. Go to Black Agenda Report.
We gotta pass the mic. We gotta pass the mic.
Please. I mean,
on call, you my brother, but with you, it's everybody else's fault, but the Congo.
No. No.
Exactly.
No. But I'm gonna pass it back to you in a minute. Go ahead, Africa. I gotta pass it to Bang. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I mean, a country of 120 million, you only got 160,000. Active personnel. That's just crazy. And then you see here, and I just, I don't know. I got headache. Honestly, we all love Congo, as Diana just said. We want the best for for your country and your people and the entire African continent. But I can see where it's so obvious. We need to stop blaming the foreigners on the West in Congo's problem, and I think it's an internal issue. I will just make it short, and I'll pass it back to Diana and to Bang. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bang.
Yeah, man. How's everybody? Congo, man. Congo. This Congo is just is a perfect example how the continent of Africa is so weak. It's so weak, man. Like Congo is, it's sad. Honestly speaking, it's sad. Like us as Black people, especially the ones that come from the continent as well, it's like Congo need help. We can't even help them. Our own neighbors, we can't even help them because we can't even help our own self. I mean, look what's going on in West Africa. Look what's going on in Nigeria. All these countries. And then Congo is just worst of it because of the size of the country and then the way it's been set up. And I know for sure tribal is in it as well, because some elders, they don't want to they have a grudge or something. Because a lot of time most African tribalists that's been passed on for generation, it's just a personal grudge that some chief or some elder passed on to their kids, man. Passed on to their own tribes. Honestly speaking, in my view, because if you could take this same grudge for the past 50 or 60 years now that don't have nothing to do with you, and then you still unaliving each other, but then you won't come together to look at the bigger picture and stuff like that, it's man, it's sad. Look at how, like, I don't want to bring up Nigeria, but it's a perfect example because Nigeria, the size of it does matter in West Africa. Nigeria is the big dog in West Africa, 100%. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what Ghana make all that stupid noise. You will never overcome Nigeria at all. Look at how when they had the Civil War about 60 years ago, like, or whatever it was, right? Which was completely unnecessary, right? But then you had the elders that passed in their hate to their kids and kids. Up to this day, some of them are so tribalist because of the Civil War. And they're far gone away. These people are dead. But the way they're passing the story to these, to their kids, and then now it's their kids, it makes the tribalists so like, it will never be fixed. So technically, it makes it much easier for outsiders to come in and then keep controlling Africa. Because to me, there's one thing about me. I don't carry a grudge that doesn't have to do nothing with me currently in my life. I don't do that. But our elders, the way they pass on grudge to our kids and kids, man, is what causing tribalists in a very different level. Because we see it. We know that outsider has to do something with it. But we have the power to stop these people. But then grudge, passed on, and then it's like, oh, like I hate you forever because you did this. Oh, because this side you unalive, whatever amount of millions of people, of whatever, or thousands of our people. So that we can never have peace. We can never come, together. When you actually study culture-wise, it's very similar. But at the end of the day, Congo, man, it's very sad. It's very sad because we can't even help them in West Africa. Because look at us. Look at our giant of Africa, giant of West Africa, right? They have like endless oil. They just started. It took a guy, a private company, to come open up a refinery. The amount of oil that Nigeria has, it took a private man and a private company to start his own oil refining. Man, and then also people got to understand, right? Congo is just not what it is because of, at the end of the day, you see what's going on with this war in Iraq, right? You see what's going on with the war in Ukraine. All these things connect back to energy. All these things connect back to resource. And you saw how, the U.S. president went as far just to kidnap, another president so that they could control their oil. So if America could do that, what makes you think they don't have their hand in so many other ways to other countries don't challenge it? And then you look at the war in Sudan, sponsored by the Arabs over there in, Qatar and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, they don't want competition. They want these countries to be beneath them forever. That's just how it is. It's just people need to come to, to the sense and say, this is our land. We got to change it. Like it or not. Forget the grudge, put it aside, but we got to change it. And then it comes back to the elders. Because a lot of these elders in Africa, man, to me, they're not leaders. They're not leaders. The problem in Africa now, we have so much respect for elders. And to me, it's destroying us in a way that it doesn't benefit us. Because when you say something to an elder, if they are, some type of chief or some type of, high position, they say, oh, are you disrespecting me? Or, whatever. They talk to you in a very rude manner that you even scared to say, like to respond back to them. When your response is perfectly fine, it makes a lot of logic sense. But then these people will go until they die. They will never tell you the truth. They will never want peace. They will pass this grudge for years upon years upon years, and then it will pass on. We got to do something in Africa, man. And then we got to do something. Look, man, Congo, it just tells you everything. How I hate to use the word, but we are pitiful, man. We are. I hate to use it, but and then like people just going to fight unnecessary fight that don't matter. That will never bring peace. That will never bring development. An African would destroy everything just because they don't want nobody else to win. All because of an ego. All because of an ego. I mean, once again, I'm going to end this with Nigeria. If a Nigeria has tremendous oil for decades and decades, the federal government did not want to refine the oil. It's not because of they don't have the knowledge. They refuse because of what? Outside force. It took a private man to come do it. Now look at Congo, one of the richest countries in the world, one of the richest, blessed with anything. But then when you look at the videos, man, you look at these sad, innocent people, and then the people that pass in this hate are completely dead. They're in the dirt. And then people still carry on this stupidity to somebody else that look like them. But then at the same time, they go to these Europe countries and buy all these fancy things. That's why, to me, I don't understand it. Like, what type of love do you have for your people? For you to see your people living like this, and then you go to a European country and buy all these fancy things and then come back. And then how can, like, a country like that big, and then your city is the only place that's nice. Everywhere else is like, unlivable. That size, it just tells you how, and then you can you ain't tell military doesn't, like, you can't even do nothing with it. But at the end of the day, Congo does not have a leader yet. That Felix guy, he come from a family that was running that country. So he come from wealth. So he can't relate to the average Congolese, man. Not even close. Not even close, man. That Felix guy, he just protecting his family. He doesn't care about.
All right, 30 seconds, man. I got to pass the mic to
He doesn't, man.
Smart. I got to pass the mic to the man of the High Council. We got 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's just, we got to do something, man. Just stop holding grudges that was passing on people that's, that's fucking dead. That's all.
All right, go ahead, Smart. I got to pass the mic.
Man, you know what though? That is so true about the elders or whatever. I mean, West African, Central Africa, they have this thing about that. One thing that I like about America, if an elder is talking shit, we don't put up with that shit. Like, we'll check an elder get his ass slapped, get his ass beat up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't sit up there and let somebody, just because they old, talk to us any type of way, especially now if they're making sense, that is. But if they sit up there trying to hold a grudge, like if my grandmama was sitting up here holding a grudge against the next door neighbor about some stupid shit that happened in the 1920s, like, no, we're not gonna even pay attention to that. But it's amazing how Africans go to war, die about some shit that a bony ass, malnutrition, rotten mouth elder chief in the village got to say, and they live by that. And that's the only the reason is, the number one reason is because of what I saw when I was there. I'm not gonna. I know TV can be a devil too, but what I noticed, that when you get out of the city, the internet, the service is not stable. So a lot of people, they don't watch TV a lot. You get what I'm saying? So all they do is listen to what older people got to say. All they got to do is listen to all these folk tale, because one, the electricity is not good when you get outside of the city. You know what I'm saying? Two, the cell phone service. So they're not, and then a lot of people that live outside the city don't have nice phones. They still, using Technos and Infinix. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about phones. Like, phones in America, you couldn't even download your Bank of America or your Wells Fargo app. If you brought one of them phones that the people live on the outskirts to America and tried to download Bank of America, Wells Fargo, the app will tell you this phone does not fit the format. So it's just basic communication to one person to another. So they don't get to see the world. You get what I'm saying? Like, people that's in the inner city, and those grudges do. But let me say this. It was shocking that call, you know what I'm saying? He said that none of the people that was sent up there, the military, the African military, black people that was cutting off people's hands and cutting off people's feet, nail one of them. This was came out of his mouth. Out of 15,000 people that they said that
Smart, 30 seconds. I got to pass the mic to the man of the High Council.
I got you. That they recruited, not one of them Congolese. But all the people at the tarmac, all the soldiers that dragged Lumumba off the plane and put him on the goddamn truck was Congolese. We don't give a fuck who set them, who killed them. It's the people who tracked them down. It's the people that hunted him. You get what I'm saying? That was his own people that hunted him down and tracked him down and handed him over. And I passed the mic.
Thank you. Good evening. Rise and shine, proud Americans. It's the man in the high castle, and I come with glad tidings. Shout out to Patrice Lumumba. He seemed like a very interesting character. He just had lack of allies right there on the continent. And I'm going to compliment what Brother Hustle Smart said. It's always this. They always put the finger on the caveman. They'll never point and take themselves accountable about their own atrocities. From building those slave castles, those slave forts, they built it from the ground up. The Africans on the continent, they built it from the grounds up. No Portuguese brought over no limestone and all that stuff. No, they built it straight on their own, the Africans. Just like how the Haitians, without cranes and machinery, built that lovely world wonder, the Citadel, the castle in the sky. They built that from the ground up. No cranes, nothing. These Africans on the continent, though, they built those slave forts from the ground up on their own, way before the caveman came out of Europe. So what I'm getting at, if you ever see these pictures with the people with the red fez hats, you'll see them on the continent in old pictures. It was these people, the force publique that they called them. The Belgium used them as African mercenaries. They were used all throughout the continent. They were used as enforcers, headbusters. If you look at that link, sir, that I put in the back, you'll get a picture of who these people are, and they're still on the continent. Did you know Mobutu was a force publique African mercenary beforehand? See, in 1960, that's when the force publique changed their name over to the Army National Congolese. And that's exactly where Mobutu comes from. The ANC, formerly known as the Force Publique. Pull up that link, sir, just to get a picture of who these people are, and they're still on the continent. These are your misleaders to this day.
I think you lost the mic.
I dock my yacht.
Okay. Are you finished or you gone silence? Maybe
I dock my yacht, sir.
Okay.
Let me Hustle Smart. Let me say something, man. Hustle Smart, man. Let me respond to you real quick, right?
Yes, sir.
You see in Africa, right? These elders, these chiefs, right? Their job, their main job was to protect the land, and make sure the land, benefit the people. You understand me, right? So in the sense that he was supposed to be loyal to the land. You understand me? Because people without no land are nothing. And then it was the opposite that took place later on in history. So now, instead of them actually protecting the land, they do the opposite now. You understand me, right? That's what's going on in Africa for the past, so many years now. And then for Africa to get away from that, revolution has to happen, because that is a system that's been going on for generations, like thousands of years, right? You understand me, right? So for you to come and do such a thing, you must, like I said it before, a lot of people has to be on the live in Africa. I'm not lying to y'all. A lot of people has to be on the live.
No, I don't agree with that, Bang. The reason why I don't.
Hold on. Africa. You live in Europe, right? I live in America, right? The way people are suffering, we can't relate to that, man. Let's be honest with ourselves. Man. I know for sure your family has, have a house back home, which is well built. My family does too. Bunch of my families as well. But let's be honest, man. We can't relate to people that's been suffering for generations, man. There's some families back home in Africa, right? It's been generation of sufferness.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
they still hold on to this chief, this elder, whatever they say.
Yeah, I know.
I
mean,
was supposed to protect the
you
land.
just said one word. You just used one word there. Bang. Sorry. You see the chiefs. Just mentioned chiefs. Those chiefs in Africa need to go. All of them need to go because most of the problem. I don't know about Congo, but most of this land been taken. They've been taken over by those
Not
chiefs.
really.
Okay?
Not really, but you are right on many points. Yeah.
Okay. So in West Africa, the chiefs own most of this land. Okay, and they don't know how to develop this land, and also they don't manage the population well, and they are given that big responsibility that they actually not good at managing. So to me, I think some of the chiefs need to go. They need to centralize everything, or have the responsibility passed on. But we don't have a good government. So what can we do? So this is
That's
really
why I
the
said.
reason why.
That's why I said. That's why I said their job was to make sure the land is like you know what I'm saying, like responsible to the people. They lost that. Let's be honest. They lost it.
Yeah.
No matter what, right? Even if an outsider comes, right, and say, "Give me this, give me that," right? You as a common sense chief, right? You're supposed to know, okay, well, we need this, we need that. So then your deals will be like benefit your people. When you know that your people are not growing food like they're supposed to, right? The chief is supposed to go to these villages and then press them and then say, you do this, you do this, you do this. By law,
The chiefs need to organize the villages. Absolutely.
Africans by law are dictatorship. Because when you have a chief that comes and say this, Africans do it. They don't even question nothing. But when you destroy that chief mentality, right? That whole thing spread around, and then Africans don't do nothing about it. They just sit back. Because at the end of the day, we're not supposed to go over them. Unless there's a revolution.
You're right. Like Bang, for example, Sierra Leone, the land in Sierra Leone, majority are owned by the chiefs, which is privately owned.
Oh, yeah.
The only land that's owned by the government in Sierra Leone is Freetown. If you come out of Freetown, government don't know how government don't own any land.
It's owned by chiefs. Those guys are.
I have a question for you, Bang, real quick. Are you saying
it's crazy?
Democracy is the problem, or like what exactly are you saying? Can you be more specific?
No, it's not about democracy. Like okay, if you have a town, right? They just say like a couple thousand of people, right? There's always an elder. There's always a elder where it's responsible for everybody, right? So whatever the elder says, that's the final word. So within those elders, you have other like little chiefs underneath these people, right? You understand me, right?
Yeah.
So
they have chiefs, paramount chiefs, lower chiefs.
Yes, you have sections. These sections now, they have certain things that they're supposed to do. Like just say this side is good at growing rice.
So that's like a hierarchy, you mean, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep. That's what Africa is by nature, honestly speaking. But then when you interrupt that system, when you interrupt that system right there from the top, everything else will never get fixed because at the end of the day, Africans don't know how to go about it after that.
But that's the thing.
That's the system we have.
That's 1,000. But what about when we're talking countries? It's like millions of people. It's not 1,000 anymore. So now that's
I'm just saying like section wise, but overall.
No, I understand. Because here's my at least what my opinion is in this is that one, elders are the problem. But before I go into them, is that specifically it's the hierarchy and the control. Because one thing I've noticed is that when you look at all these countries that have, like, let's take, for example, most of the countries in Europe, they killed each other before they started killing everybody else. They started killing each other far more. And eventually then when they basically took that cruelty to the rest of the world. When you look, and then now they won mostly through extraction. Then you look at other nations, like, for example, China. China went and committed the Cultural Revolution and the famines that were self-inflicted. After going through all of that, and eventually they succeeded. But that can be easily looked at as saying, well, a lot of Africans need to die, a lot of people need to die. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I can understand when you look at the correlation that seems to be, when there's mass death is what makes countries successful. That's not true. It's just a correlation. But one thing that is true is that when I look at this nation, they do have a single credible chain of authority, and they have more reach. Because when you look, it's like before even comparing to other countries, are we saying there are no African nations that are stable right now? Clearly they exist, but what do they have in common most of the time? They have reach. Like when you look at Congo, some of those areas, the government isn't even there. How the heck are they going to control it when they're not even
That's
there?
the same thing that I said. Same thing that I said.
So, and that's why sometimes, blame history all you want or blame all those colonizers, but at the same time, like you're not even there. Like I'm gonna use Nigeria because they did this not recently, but they did this where they would stop like Boko Haram, for example. They would be there and then they would leave. And I'm like, why are you leaving? Don't you know that this is like, this is how they fight. They go there, they cause instability, and then they leave and they cross the borders. And then you leave and you have no control, and these people have no way of defending themselves, and then another atrocity happens right after. I'm not gonna say the democracy is not necessarily the problem. Is that the democracy cannot survive in Africa with weak institutions, and a lot of these African nations, like Congo, have very, very weak institutions. They don't actually get things done. Like I look at Botswana, Rwanda is very centralized, for example. Botswana is a democracy, but they have strong institutions, for example. They're like, just an example, a police post, okay? The police post, for example, administrators, district offices. Those single things are basically answering to the state, the country itself, okay? The army and the police answer to one single center. They are paid to manage consistently. That alone shuts down a lot of potential fragmentations. And again, another thing, rules and taxes. I know everybody hates taxes, but when you have rules, taxes, these permits, basically are predictable. And then if you actually deliver the services, which is another issue, are you actually delivering those services in those areas? If I'm paying my taxes, the road is still shitty, that's one thing, okay? But like if the road is still shitty, like in my area, and then it's good in some areas, then then it's gonna be like, okay, why am I paying all these taxes for? What exactly is the problem here? When you look at other, these African nations, some of them do have bad roads, but it's not like they don't have good roads either. But the mere fact is that the state can actually reach them and collect the taxes, and they can deliver other services. Again,
y'all making excuses. It's the caste system on the continent. Anyway, y'all got to get rid of it.
I didn't cut you off, okay? Okay.
Get rid of the caste system on the continent.
Hold on 1 second. Anti-Morals, you got a minute because I got to pass it to 2 people, and then I'm going to close out early. So go ahead. You got a minute.
Okay. Again, it's not an excuse. I think because people don't actually know how states work, and they think that's an excuse.
I've been watching y'all drive since the time I've
been. Man, some decorum. Let's not interrupt him. Anti-Morals, you got a minute uninterrupted. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. They don't understand how states work. They just babble all the time. States need actual control. They need actual centralized control and hierarchical control, like Banks said. A lot of these African nations are just weak institutionally, and these problems are going to propagate forever in the Congo because one, tribalism is just an answer we can say it's a problem, but I'm not going to go on tribalism all the time because there's tribalism, there's other tribes in other areas like Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Ethiopia. But why aren't these states, for example, in constant battles, for example? Because they're in those areas and reaching out. And Congo, simply put, is a problem. Another issue is old people, but again, this changes with generations, especially as younger people should getting more involved in politics. These things are going to change. You pass it off.
All right, go ahead, M. Then at the end, it's Haru. Then we're closing out. Go ahead, M.
Thank you, sir.
You're not gonna give me a minute to respond and to correct some.
Okay, I gotta. No, we'll do another.
Congo is not tribalism issue.
Oh man, pass the mic. Go ahead, M.
Tribalism.
No, Congo is not tribalism. No, it's leaders.
I didn't say it's
leaders.
Let him talk.
Hold on, number one. I'm gonna defend the Congolese when the brother said that they watched Lumumba get drug off the plane and didn't do anything. In psychology, there's a thing called group thought and the bystander effect. And when you have those phenomenons, usually the people will have to be directed and told what to do because everybody is waiting on a leader. And Patrice Lumumba, I'm not going to blame him because he probably didn't know his demise was going to be that soon. But usually they put in contingency plans in case certain things happen. This is what you do. I believe that's what Iran leadership did. That's why they was able to maintain and continue and make appropriate decisions after the leadership was gone. Because I believe they left instructions. But as far as Africa, they had colonialism, and I think Patrice Lumumba and Nkrumah, I think they was way ahead of their time because I don't think the people that was under that system was on that type of level. They didn't have the proper time to transition to that level. So when they stripped them, now you got people talking about like the neo-colonialists. They want the oppressor to come back because I don't think their minds evolved to the level of Lumumba or Nkrumah or those other leaders. And usually a lot of them people got their philosophy from foreign sources, Marxism, or from Nkrumah. He came to the Americas. We had the civil rights movement and whatnot. But that's the one thing I want to touch on. The second thing I want to touch on, I think a lot of people in Africa, they don't really look at the entire picture of their history. Africa was established by Julius Caesar. After the Third Punic War, Carthage was totally destroyed. 100 years later, Julius Caesar made himself emperor. You know, we know this story. He was a general, then became emperor. And one of his first orders was to rebuild Carthage. When he was killed during the Ides of March, Augustus, the next emperor, rebuilt Carthage, and they named that the Roman Republic of Africa. That's where the word Africa came from. But the reason I'm bringing this up is Carthage had a massive empire that was on the coastal regions of Africa, like West Africa, South Africa, like Zimbabwe, East Africa. And when they were stripped, Rome never took those other regions. They just took what was in North Africa. And I believe that's where all of those castles come from. And also Carthage was in America too. So Rome didn't know that either. So I think a lot of these African empires was just, they leadership was severed, but they was able to maintain and continue undisturbed for certain centuries until the 1400s or when the Muslims invaded. That's pretty much, I just think Africans need to look at the magnitude of the history and look at where Africa, the word comes from. And now Carthage is Tunisia, but now it's the continent. But originally it was just Tunisia, which was next to the Roman Republic of Egypt. And that was the second largest city in the Roman Empire. And it eventually became the head of the Roman Empire, which is in North Africa. But I don't want to take up all the time, though.
All right, go ahead, Haru. After Haru, we're closing out.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've been listening to the conversation, and certainly Lumumba was one of our shining lights, and he didn't have long enough to actually do anything in Congo. So he's relegated to somebody who had great speeches and great concepts. And at that time, a peer of his would have been Kwame Nkrumah, who had a little bit more time than Lumumba had with, the great ideology, great speeches, Pan-Africanism, the type of language that we love to hear as a global Black people. The difference is that Nkrumah did have more time and was able to do more substantive things. And till this day in Ghana, and I can speak about this as someone who was born in Ghana, there's no leader that's come since the 1960s to 2025 who has done, or 2026, that has done anything remotely close to what Nkrumah has done in terms of infrastructure and public works projects and private industry. There are still warehouses of factories that Kwame Nkrumah put up that have been abandoned since the 1960s and have never been resurrected. I'm talking about factories for many different things. In addition, when we start to look at leaders, we have to really start looking at who's done what and who's been able to actually build and develop, and we have to grade leadership based on that. And when we start talking about the Congo, and we start looking at what the Congo should deserve from, let's just say, Patrice Lumumba on, of course, the Congo should be the leading light of Africa because of all the resources, and it boils down to leadership. And so when we start looking at the leadership of the Congo post Lumumba, it has been abysmal. And one of the themes that a lot of the callers have talked about is, looking at the Congo and the paucity of leadership and the blame game, right? So, one of the biggest people being blamed for the lack of development in the Congo is Paul Kagame. And I've called and talked about this before as someone who's lived in Rwanda. And I have a whole different story and a whole different perspective than what the media perspective of Paul Kagame, of him being this bad guy and this boogeyman. It brings me to a quote of Malcolm X. Malcolm X used to say quite frequently is that whoever the media tells you to run away from is who you need to run to. And when we start doing analysis, as someone who's lived in Rwanda, most of the things that people have said about Paul Kagame in Rwanda has actually turned out to be quite untrue. When they talk about the mines, they say there are no mines in Rwanda. They talk about Paul Kagame in Rwanda being an American puppet. When you just do a quick search on Google and you look at U.S. aid from the last 20 years, you find that Rwanda, in terms of U.S. aid, number one, receives less U.S. aid than the Congo itself. Number two, Rwanda is not even in the top 5 African countries in receiving U.S. aid. Rwanda is not even in the top 10 African countries in receiving U.S. aid. Rwanda is not even in the top 15 countries of receiving U.S. aid, and it's not even the top 20 countries. So there's this narrative about Paul Kagame being somehow this puppet of United States imperialism, when it's actually not true. Because what happens is that whenever you have a black man who's overperforming, there's always some type of dark cloud that's put over him so that we don't actually pay attention to what Paul Kagame has been able to do. The indictment of Paul Kagame is that he's stealing the resources of the Congo. Well, anyone who says that would also have to agree that everybody is stealing the resources of the Congo, right? It's not just, you couldn't just say it's Rwanda, you couldn't just say it's Uganda, because there's blame for Uganda, there's blame for all the surrounding countries, there's blame for European countries stealing from the Congo. But you'll never hear about private companies like Glencore, which is run by a white Jew from South Africa, that has the biggest mining operation for the last 30 years in the Congo.
I said that yesterday.
And then you have the Congolese leaders like a Tshisekedi and these types of people who are also looting from the Congo. But let's just say that all these different people are looting from the Congo. The question that we would have to ask is, out of all these people who are looting from the Congo, who has used the Congo resources the best to develop a country in Africa or a place in Africa? It would be Paul Kagame. If all these people are looting from the Congo, Paul Kagame has done a better job with the looting than Congolese leaders. And as a matter of fact, when you look at the Congolese leaders, let's look at Felix Tshisekedi, stand him next to Paul Kagame, and you want to call, one person a looter and another person not a looter. Who looks more like a looter? You have one guy who's severely overweight, and then you have another guy, Paul Kagame, who's still thin. This is I'm not even trying to be funny, but anybody who's lived in Africa can know this. Paul Kagame could have whatever he wants in Rwanda. He still maintains a thin structure. Who looks like they can't turn down a meal? Who looks like you would expect gluttony?
So as an African, you're okay looting while killing other millions of Africans?
So, this is what's been alleged. This is what's been alleged. This has not been proven. This is what's been alleged.
Come on, go to Black Agenda Report. Black Agenda Report. It's there, and it's not Western owned. This is Black owned.
This is
just type Rwanda and Congo Black Agenda Report.
This is what has been alleged. But what has been funny is that when I actually get on the ground, I get a whole different story from people when I'm on the ground, because this is what's been alleged about Paul Kagame, but none of this has actually been proven. And so people keep talking. The people who keep talking about Paul Kagame, detractors of Paul Kagame, you've been wrong.
Come on, it has been proven so many times, but he's protected. He's protected by the Clintons, the Tony Blair.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem with your statement. Rwanda is number 24 in receiving U.S. aid out of all African
No,
countries.
but look at the size.
The
Can
Congolese
you?
government, hold on, the Congolese government has received far more U.S. aid than
That's
Rwanda.
not
This
true.
is a
That's
fact.
not true.
No, this is a
When you
no, this is a
compare,
fact.
when you
This
compare,
is a
when you
fact.
compare
No,
the,
no,
when
this
you
is a
compare the
fact.
country
No, this is
size
no,
to
this is a
Rwanda,
fact.
no,
Hold on,
no, no,
this is a
no.
fact. This is a
In
fact.
later
Besides
years,
that, hold
look,
on, beyond this argument, hold on,
the
beyond
US
this
aid in
argument,
Congo,
you've
it's
had,
about humanitarian, right? It's humanitarian aid. It's not
hold
for.
on. Anybody,
This is the
listen,
difference.
I'm not even going to argue with you. Anybody can do a Google search and you can see if I'm wrong or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So anyone can do
are
a
you
Google search
comparing
on
to the
it.
size of the
Now
country and
hold
the
on.
population as well?
Now hold on. Absolutely. But listen, just listen to further what I'm saying. Listen further to what I'm saying. We are ignoring the development level that Rwanda has been able to do since Paul Kagame has been in power. So for instance, in Rwanda,
If you compare that to what the former Congolese president did as well, if you put it in a small area, it will be more than that. I'm telling you. It's because it's a smaller country. You can.
No, it's about what you're responsible for and what you're able to manage. There are smaller countries. There are small countries in Africa and around the world that are poorly managed as well. Where are you seeing places where you have 90% access to clean water? In Rwanda, in the whole country, it's 90%, and they have a projection for 100% access to clean water for all the citizens in Rwanda. This is not something to sneeze at. This is not something to joke about. This is actually very important. In terms of electricity penetration in Rwanda, you have presently 80% of the citizenry has access to electricity, and it's going to 100% in the next 5 to 10 years. These are the projections. So what I'm saying is that when we talk about the points of care, who's been able to deliver in terms of development for their country.
You didn't tell the truth about access to clean water. It's 57% in Rwanda.
It is not 50%.
57%. It's not 9%. You didn't tell the truth.
It's 90%. I'm telling you the truth right now. It's not,
you can
do
go
Google
to
search. It's
Water Group. Yes, you can go to.
I can tell you right now. Anybody can
do Google search.
No, hold
do
on.
Google search.
Listen,
it's 57%. But I'm not saying that is not good. It's good.
No.
And
It's
I'm
not.
happy
It's
for them. But
actually no. The number. No, you see, this is what happens is that you have people trying to downplay the progress in Rwanda when this is actually not true. It's literally 90% right now in terms of access to clean water. I'm not going to go back and forth with you on these numbers. Anyone can do the research. This is for the listeners. I know that anything that is about Rwanda, you're going to downplay it as if, like you're one of those people who say it's only Kigali that's clean. And it's actually not true. Musazi's clean, Gisenyi's clean, all these places, because I've lived in Rwanda. So all of these people who are these detractors, they tell you things, but when you actually go there, you find out that they actually have been misleading you with misinformation. And this is just the truth. I think you're the same person who said that in Goma, they don't speak Kinyarwanda. And that's not true. Right? Like you guys,
it's true. The main language in Goma is not Kinyarwanda.
No, I didn't say it was the main language. You're the same person who said that they didn't speak it, but it turns out that they do. And this is what I would like the listeners to do. I want you all, because they've talked about Goma and they've talked about the group and the M23 movement. I want you all to go to YouTube right now and put in Goma 2026.
He's not
you
lying.
Play videos.
Rwanda has more access to clean water.
You will see videos of people from different parts of Africa that are not part of Paul Kagame's team or anywhere, just YouTubers going to Goma 2026 and go look at Goma. You see, people will tell you that this is a war-torn place and all of this is going on, but go just look at it for yourself and see if what people are telling you about Paul Kagame is actually true, and just see it for yourself. And what I'm trying to tell you is that the man that the press is trying to tell you to stay away from may be the person you need to run to. Because when we start looking at the development and the ability to actually have a country run like a well-oiled machine, nobody presently is doing it better than Paul Kagame. This is a fact. I've been to all these African countries. I'm from Ghana, and I wish Paul Kagame was the president of Ghana. I wish he was running Ghana, because I know if Paul Kagame was running Ghana, there would be less corruption. It would be spick and span clean. You would have the ability to register a business in a day. You would have
police that you could actually trust and rely on. You would have a medical system that you could actually be proud of, where the head of states don't need to go to Europe to go get surgery, go get treatment, where you actually have a functioning society. So when you start hearing these things about Paul Kagame and people telling you these things, what it is it's an effort to get you to not pay attention to what he's actually done for his people in his own country, which he is in charge of. We would do well to study it. People would do well to go take a trip to Rwanda for yourself. Just spend a week there, 2 weeks there, and you will see that this is a whole different place. And you might want to humble yourself and learn how this man is running a country in a way that we could be proud of. And this is just the reality of the situation. And to be completely honest with you, I wish that if it wasn't for this this nationalism that happens with these phony borders that white people drew for us, we could do a thought exercise and say, what would the Congo look like if Paul Kagame was actually running the Congo? Because if Paul Kagame was running the Congo, you would have security, you would have an economic system that's working, you would have less corruption, you would have roads in development, you would have public works projects that are working, you have 90% penetration for clean water. He knows how to manage resources. This is just the reality. Put him next to Tshisekedi and you're looking at a child compared to an adult in terms of how to run a country. And we need to start looking at the things on the ground that are tangible to say, this is what we can see for sure. We know for sure that this person has been running a country for the last 20, 30 years. And there's other people who've been running countries for the last 20, 30 years. And what have they been able to do for their country in terms of public works projects, in terms of standard of living? You cannot compare. Paul Kagame stands head and shoulders above all of these other leaders in terms of the development for the citizenry. And this is just, and all you have to do is just take some time and go travel to different African countries and you'll see the differences night and day. And that's just that's all I wanted to contribute. And the people of Congo deserve better to have such a leading light, like someone like Patrice Lumumba. And 40 years later, look at what the Congo looks like. 40 years later, after Nkrumah, look at what Ghana looks like. You know, a lot of people want to go to Ghana and say, well, Ghana is filthy. Ghana is full of corruption.
Can I ask you a question?
The development of Ghana has been completely delayed because we lost our leading light, somebody who actually knows how to run a country, and that was Kwame Nkrumah. Besides all the speeches, because we get carried away by people who can speak well. I'm talking about someone who knows how to administer a country and run a country. And when we talk about those points of care, we're talking about access to clean water, access to electricity. Right now, you also have to have access to electricity, the public health system, the lack of corruption, the ease of doing business so you can develop an economy, manufacturing, refineries in terms of your raw materials so that you can sell things that are finished goods to the world instead of just, you know, being robbed for your minerals in the raw products. All of these things, this is what Kwame Nkrumah did. The development of nuclear technology. This is what Kwame Nkrumah was doing in the 60s with the Atomic Research Laboratory. The only person who understands security, who understands military science, it looks like the only person who understands how to run a country right now in Africa, in terms of what I'm seeing, par excellence, would be Paul Kagame. But people here and there are trying to poison the minds of the general public that Paul Kagame is this, Paul Kagame is that, Paul Kagame is that, but people are refusing to study what Paul Kagame has done to develop his country. Because if he was what they were saying, you never see a looter develop their country. You don't see that happen. You don't see a looter and this terrible person that people talking about actually develop a country where healthcare is basically free, where there's drone delivery for hospital equipment to rural countrysides. This is what's done in Rwanda. There are no potholes in the roads. When they tell you they're going to do a public works project, they give you a completion date, and all the public works projects from hospitals to roads to sewer systems are completed before the end date. Where the ministers of government are given a one-year contract of deliverables, and if they don't do what they're supposed to do in terms of the one-year performance contract, they're fired.
I've never seen any thing like this in any country I've been to. We could learn a lot from the Rwanda model, but people are being brainwashed to say this is something that we shouldn't learn from because he's killing so many people in the Congo. And I'll tell you something about these UN reports. I used to take these UN reports very seriously until I went to Haiti after the earthquake of Haiti, because I saw the news. It was like, basically an apocalypse in Haiti. And yes, the earthquake was bad. You thought it was an apocalypse in Haiti. But I decided to go to Haiti for myself after the earthquake. I went by myself, and I had friends in Haiti, and I stayed with them. And the images that the news were giving you, UN reports were giving you, because I went to actually engage in delivering goods to people and helping move, crippled people and what have you. But it was a completely different experience, and I fell in love with Haiti. And people were telling me, don't go to Haiti. You'll get killed in Haiti, this and that in Haiti. All these people are dead in Haiti. When I landed in Haiti, I thought I was going to see a zombie apocalypse. People were just moving around, going to work, like almost nothing had happened. Yes, there was earthquake, and yes, there was loss of life. But there was a beauty in Haiti that if you just listen to the news and these UN reports, you would have never, ever wanted to go to Haiti and see it for yourself. And this is the same thing that I'm seeing with Rwanda, that there's so much malignment of Rwanda that it makes you not want to go there and actually see for yourself what's going on. There's so much malignment of what's happening in Goma that you don't want to go there and see for yourself. And I'm just telling
people. Let me ask you a question.
I'm just telling people, and I'm just going to end here. Just give me 15 seconds. Don't believe anything that I'm saying. Just go on YouTube for yourself, put in Rwanda 2026, Kigali 2026, Musenzi 2026, Gisenyi 2026, and then go to Congo and put in Goma 2026 on YouTube and watch for yourself and see if what I'm telling you all is actually a joke. And then the last thing I'm going to say is I'd like everyone to look at a long-form podcast interview with Rutendo Matinyarere. And the podcast is called Long Form Podcast. And it is his public apology to President Paul Kagame, because he used to be a virulent hater of Paul Kagame based on all the reports that he was reading. And he's out of Zimbabwe, and he's a Pan-Africanist, and he thought Paul Kagame was the devil and this and that. And he decided to go to Goma and to go to Rwanda himself to see everything. And everyone should watch that interview. It's called the Long Form Podcast. And just put in the name Rutendo, Rutendo. And he's going to tell you his story from beginning to end. People say he was threatened. He explains everything. He was not threatened. He talks in detail of his transformation of hating Paul Kagame to actually apologizing and saying that Africa needs to model Rwanda, and see his journey of how his mind changed.
Let M ask his M. It has to be a question. Don't get long-winded, and then I got to close out.
Too.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah.
Okay, the question I have is, why do you think it's so hard for people to give compliments to us in America and easy for you to compliment like Haiti or Kwame Nkrumah or African countries? Why is it so hard to give compliments to American black people?
I started my whole conversation complimenting Malcolm X.
You did.
Next question, please.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I thought you were gonna cut me off. I ain't gonna lie. Okay. My question is, and I'll try to keep it very simple, but it's: do you think, let's say, Kwame Nkrumah or Patrice Lumumba were alive today? Because one thing I think from my country, what we benefited from Julius Nyerere is that he lived long enough to implement his system where 120 ethnic groups today speak one language and don't have ethnic issues. Even though tribalism exists, it doesn't exist on it, because I can go from Tanga to Kigoma and speak the same language.
More. Ask your question, please.
That's it. No, but okay. Basically, do you think is that between all those leaders, like, do you think that tribalism can be basically conquered if we at least have a more of a national identity? Like, I identify more as a Rwandan or as a Ghanaian, whatever, rather than my tribe. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's a great question, and I think that we could take great direction from it. So if we look at what happened in Rwanda, Rwanda was probably the worst example of tribalism, right? In terms of what happened with the genocide, with the Tutsis and the Hutus, and just the killing back and forth, right? That this deep-seated fratricide because of people identifying with different ethnic groups. Well, once this genocide was over and there was basically war, and Kagame ends up winning the war, right? This is not like there are things that people want to debate who started it, whatever, but Kagame's group ends up winning the war. They did not engage in national retribution, which they could have because he was a Tutsi. But what was interesting is that when you look at the codification of the laws and what has happened when you see these tribal, situations, one tribe takes over, then the other tribe, gets killed, and it goes back and forth, right? Like Crips and Bloods type of situation, right? And it's just circular and never stops. Well, in Rwanda, by law, right? And I'm sure it will take time for people to get over it in terms of generations, but I can just tell you what the law is in Rwanda. The law in Rwanda is that you cannot identify yourself as a Tutsi or Hutu by law. And there's only two things you can call yourself in Rwanda. You can call yourself a Rwandan or an African. This is not rumor. This is me living in Rwanda. Okay. And there are still old people holding on to the Tutsi identity and the Hutu, but the younger people are, away from that. And the more generations you get away from that. And Kwame Nkrumah had this problem as well. Do you know that in Ghana, that the different ethnic groups were about to go to a war over what should be the national language, and that as a compromise, they had to agree that English would be the national language?
It's better than anything.
Because the different ethnic groups just couldn't agree.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Kwame Nkrumah had to do was for different ethnic groups, for the public administration of the government, let's just say he would put an Ashanti person who would be in charge of the Ewe section. Then you have the an Ewe person be in charge of, let's say, the Achim section or whatever. And so you would have, the spread out of different ethnic groups in charge of different of other ethnic groups, because at the end of the day, the biggest detriment to Black folks moving forward is the low-hanging fruit and the addiction that we have to tribalism. Whether it be Crips and Blood, whether it be East Coast, West Coast, whether it be down south, up north, whether it be Ashanti or Ghanaian and Nigerian and all this, we are fighting horizontally when we should be fighting vertically. And what I've seen in Rwanda, how they solve that problem is that there is no tribalism based on law. You can't even identify as an ethnic group. If you try to do that in Ghana now, people would probably try to kill you. Probably did it in Nigeria, where you can't, to say to people you can't identify as Yoruba or you can't identify as Igbo, people would probably try to kill you. But it would be necessary for us to get a Pan-African identity, to say our identity is Pan-African, our identity is African, my identity, because this is how I feel. I was born in Ghana, but I don't feel like a Nigerian is less my brother than someone from Ghana, because I don't acknowledge colonial boundaries. Because the truth of the matter is that if the Europeans wanted to make Nigeria go farther west, me being born in Ghana, I would be a Nigerian. Literally. They could have just moved the border farther west and I would have been a Nigerian. And so I'm not going to allow my identity to be dictated by white folks when it comes to like African nationalism. And then the tribalism never served us well. We're dealing with the global power and we're busy fighting horizontally. It's a terrible tactic and it needs to die. But I'm just going to end by saying, look, man, y'all, people can say whatever they want to say, but I just want people to look into exactly what I'm saying. When it comes to Paul Kagame, no one runs a country better than him. This is just a fact. And if you don't believe me, just spend some time on YouTube and put in Rwanda. You'll see Singapore of Africa. You'll see the cleanest city in Africa. You'll see people who are Black Americans who moved to Rwanda giving you their reports. Rwanda, they don't want to leave. And when I'm in Rwanda, I meet people from Nigeria, I meet people from Ghana, I meet people from Congo, I meet people from Tanzania, I meet people from Kenya, I meet people from Chicago, I meet people from Los Angeles, and I meet people from Britain. And guess what they all say? They're never leaving, because it's the best country that they lived in. And this is across the board. So what I'm saying is that something is happening in a country that's being maligned that we might want to start looking at for a model. Even if you don't like Paul Kagame, Take whatever good that you can from what he's been able to do in terms of development and learn from it. Learn about the laws of Rwanda and why the country is running like a well-oiled machine when every other country around them is falling apart.
It took a genocide to get to that point, and the people that did the genocide got free from prison.
It is very unfortunate that that's what happened. It's very unfortunate, and I wonder
say
about
that
it sometimes.
a lot of countries, though.
And I wonder about that. Does there need to be huge bloodshed for Africa or African people to wake up? You know, what they say about progress in science is that science progresses with the death of one scientist at a time. And what they're saying is that you have an old guard that needs to die out because the old guard is caught in their ways.
But look, the point I'm trying to make is you're talking all the good about it, but you have to acknowledge that it was a genocide and they let all of them people out of prison. So you got murderers just walking around right now. Like you can't just talk about just the good, even though that's good to talk about the good, but you still have to acknowledge what happened to the people.
Oh, I never said I didn't acknowledge it, but I'm just talking about my time that I've lived there, you know, for long amount of time, and you know, my son going to school there and seeing that this is just a whole different type of country that I've been in than, you know, compared to, you know, all the other countries I've been in. I would tell people, man, book a ticket and go to Rwanda and see it for yourself. Don't believe anything that I'm saying. Don't believe anything that anyone tells you until you can go see it for yourself. This is all I can say to you, to everybody listening, man. If you can, go to Rwanda, spend some time there and learn.
It's similar to how when Africans come to America, they just ignore all of the atrocities that happen. They looking how beautiful it is now. You know, it's like being tone deaf. But I ain't finna keep interrupting you. I know the brother finna end the program pretty soon.
Oh, a lot of Asians do that too.
Yeah, but so what do you expect somebody like her to do? Just go to but you do realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, Haru, in Rwanda, like you're not even allowed to bring up the genocide. Is that correct?
No, they talk about the genocide and they commemorate it every year.
Okay.
But I do have a critique of it. They call it the Tutsi genocide. And it wasn't just Tutsis that were killed. I believe it should just be called genocide, but they do call it the Tutsi genocide. And I don't agree with that.
But the brothers that did the genocide was released. Do you acknowledge that? Do you talk about that? They all are free.
No, that's not true. Like, I don't know.
The
why
women of Rwanda had a movement to let the guys out, but they repented and they pledged their life to do good.
No, I mean, we could get into
you gotta get all the history. But as far as the brother asked me,
hold on. You're telling me I need to get all the history. I've actually lived.
You gotta learn. You gotta do some research.
No. I've lived there. Like, this is not. You're not gonna tell me.
That don't mean you know everything that happened. They let them guys out of jail.
Hold on. You don't know what I know. You're making
But
assumptions.
you obviously don't know that they let the guys out of jail.
No.
But I ain't finna start a new argument.
You said everyone. No, that's not true. There have been
all got released, but
No, that's not true. That's not a fact. There have been tribunals of many of the genociders who've actually been imprisoned, who have not been released from jail. I mean, this is.
But how many got released compared to the ones that didn't? How many? Give me a number.
Now you're just moving the goalpost.
Regardless of that, it's a dead issue.
I don't think how many, bro. You're changing your argument.
But listen, from
my understanding, all of them is free. But he's saying it's not free. It's a matter of fact.
That's just not true.
You see, but here's the point. Here's the point that I'm making. Notice that when I'm talking about a country that's been able to get 90% access to clean water to their citizens, this is not even being talked about. We're nitpicking small things that actually are not relevant.
Hold on.
We're talking about the development of a country. No, we're talking about the development of a country, and we overlook these things because this is one that's going to make you decide whether you'd want to live in a country or not. When basic needs are solved for the citizenry, and this is not something that should be overlooked. This is not something that should be overlooked.
The point I'm making is it don't take that much time to acknowledge the atrocity. It's like when you come to America, you look at all of the beauty and all of the opportunities. It don't take you 1 minute to acknowledge all of the sacrifices. It's not going to kill you.
What do you want Haru to do? What do you want him to do?
It's not bad to talk about the beauty of a thing, but you still have to pay homage. Like, it's like our tradition in America, we always honor the past. That's just something
I
we
don't
do.
understand. Is this the same brother who asked, do they acknowledge the genocide? And I said they'd have a yearly commemoration every year.
Yeah, same person.
So I don't
I'm
understand what you're saying.
talking about in your dissertation, you did not acknowledge it not one time since you've been talking.
Hold on, Haru, can you do me a favor and just say I acknowledge the genocide so we can move on?
I talked about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why would you just babble about how great a thing is?
In my conversation, I talked about the genocide.
He did.
And I talked about,
I
talked about the law being
just
passed.
one more time. Just say, "Hey, I acknowledge the genocide."
No, here's the thing: is
So
that even if I say it, he won't hear it. Even if I say it, he won't hear it because he doesn't want to hear it. Because if he was listening closely, the way that I got to talk about the genocide was I talked about the law being passed in terms of tribalism, where you can't call yourself Tutsi or Hutu post-genocide. I talked about that.
You didn't say post-genocide.
I did say that.
Oh my lord!
Man, we got selective hearing.
Yeah, people have selective hearing.
He said that, but come on.
Now, here's what I'd like to say about your show, Dynast. Your show is a very, very good show that you do, frequently, in showing people a phenomenon called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is that people have a ready-made opinion, and anything that is said that is against their opinion, they can't hear it or process it. And you'll hear it on both sides. That people are actually not having good faith conversations. That people have a opinion that they have, and no matter what is said that is outside of that opinion, it's like they can't even hear it or process it. And it's a shame, because what it does is it stops us from moving forward. Because the most important things that I talked about in this conversation is standard of living for citizenry. And that's not something that we're discussing. We're not discussing engineering. We're not discussing how you actually fix a country. Yeah. And this is what every single Black person is interested in. Most Black people want to talk about what is the forward projection and trajectory of a country where we can live with our family and thrive. And these things, I'm telling you, when you go from African country to African country and you do a sober assessment, there is no place that I've seen perform better than Rwanda. And I know so many people would hate to hear that because they're programmed to hate Paul Kagame. But what I'm trying to tell you is that
the point I'm trying to make is this, right? This is the only thing I'm saying is when you make a statement like this should be the archetype for a society, you are actually saying we must do a genocide too. If you don't even, because that's in the equation, that's what led to it.
Do y'all see this? Do y'all hear this?
Hold on.
You're saying this is the quintessential state that we should follow. Because you excluded the genocide.
I got it. Over. You got a minute. We got to close out. I don't know.
Do you hear this?
I hear it.
I hope everyone can hear this. And this is the problem: is that people are hearing their own song, irrespective of what key is being played or what lyrics are being sung, because people have their own what you call confirmation bias. And this is a great psychological experiment, your show, that I could say A, B, C, and someone could say, I never said A, B, or C. It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I think this is the same brother that said, did you ever talk about America in a good way or anything like that? And I talk about Malcolm X.
Black America.
Yeah, Black America. And I talked about Malcolm X. I talked about him like it's like the person didn't even want to hear what I was saying. The first person I mentioned, but this is what I'm trying to tell you is that when you're having conversations with people,
I didn't say youth.
Well, I'm an African. I was born in Africa, so
I guess you need to speak for all of us, apparently.
So yeah, so I mean, it's actually a great demonstration. Most of the time, when you're having conversations with people, people are looking to argue because people are looking to protect their egos. Their ego has them having an opinion, and because their ego needs to be protected, they have a rigid ability to understand what's actually being said. So then all types of extrapolations are made where we're wasting our time. And this is one of the problems is why we're having a hard time developing, is that if we just decided, listen, we're going to focus on engineering and we're looking at the best places and the best examples in the world where they have engineering projects that we can actually build
Hey,
upon
Dinus, can I say
and
one last
reverse
thing?
engineer. And this is not being focused on. This is not being focused on. This is and people want to argue about semantics. Man, the most important things that I said is in terms of water access, electricity access, roads development, business development, the ease of doing business. These are things that should be looked into. And those people who are interested in those things, these are the things that actually move a society, not this other stuff that we're getting diverted from that's really based on ego. What we need to look at is who is doing the best job for their citizenry in developing.
Yep.
And once we start taking those points of care, that would be healthcare. That would be management of government and lack of corruption. That would be access to water. That would be access to electricity, access to internet, educational systems. What is the standard of living for women? What's the standard of living for men? What is the job prospects? What are the ease of actually entrepreneurship? And when you start looking at all of these points of care, Rwanda comes out number one. And if it comes out number one, for someone to tell you not to study that is us shooting ourselves in our foot.
Dinus,
That's the point that I'm making.
Do a conversation like that next time.
Oh yeah. So we're going to close. Well, Em, go ahead and make your comment. Then we're closing out.
All I was saying was the brother acknowledged this too. Rwanda, when they had the dispute about Rwanda robbing Congo, in order for, he said they did good with the robbery. So you telling me we got to do a genocide and rob our neighbor in order to get to this point?
That's not what I said.
You acknowledged that they robbed Congo of their resources, but you said they did good with it.
You missed completely what I said, man.
You said that earlier.
No, you keep saying I'm saying things that everyone's actually telling you that's not.
You acknowledge they robbed Congo of their resources. We say at least they did good with it. They do it better than the Europeans did with it.
No, that's not what I said. You see,
so like, you didn't say Congo did better with the resource they robbed. I mean, Rwanda did better with the resource they robbed from Congo than the European nations did. So you're saying we got to rob Congo and we got to do a genocide to get to this utopia.
That's not what I said. You have a narrative that you want to implant into my mind and into my mouth.
But that's all I want to say.
Do you realize that this is your fourth time trying to implant a narrative into what I said? And
everybody heard you say that. You said they did good with the resource they stole from Congo. You said they did good with the resources.
What's your name, M?
Yeah.
All right, M. Just to let you know that I'm not being unfair to you. Realize that
it's not about me because I'm not from Rwanda, but we can't follow an archetype that requires us to do genocide and rob people of their resources. That's what the Roman Empire did.
M, listen very closely to what I'm about to say to you. This is your fourth time implanting your narrative into my mouth. And you did it 3 times before. And the 3 times before, everybody rose up against you saying that's not what he said. This is your 4th time. What is the probability that you're correct and you've been wrong 3 times in a row?
Did Rwanda not rob Congo of their resources? Yes or no? And did you not say at least they did good for the Africans and not the Europeans?
Not what I said. All right. Would you like me to repeat what I said to you?
I already said what you said. I remember what you said. No, I ain't gonna argue about it.
No, you don't. You obviously
everybody go back to the play. You said that we was arguing with other brothers about Congo. You said at least they did better with the resources than the Europeans did it. So it makes it right.
That's not what I said.
Are they sharing with the Congolese the money that they robbed?
That's not
or
what
are they just using it to build up Rwanda?
That's not what I said.
But I'm for the rotate. I appreciate the show though.
No problem. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, search for Huru. Peace.